All right, go ahead and open up your workbooks to page 593. That was our homework from last Thursday. We are going to grade this right now. We're going to grade it as a completion grade. Please have a pen out so you can grade it. Remember, for a completion grade, it's just if you have it done and you fix it, you get the points for it. If you did not do it and you're just filling it in now, you do have to take off points for that. Or if you're just not taking time to fix them as we're going through them, you do need to take off for that as well. So hopefully you all have a 100% at the end. As we are going through it, please make sure you are actually taking time to fix things. So if you need to stop the video and do that, that is totally fine. You can pause the video at any time, so that way you can write down work if you had something wrong. Okay? So the first two on number 1, these are both talking about cylinders and its volume. So notice the volume formula was the same for both. V equals pi r squared h. Okay? From there, we have our information. Remember, halfway is our radius. R stands for radius. So 3 goes in for the radius. The height here is always the distance between our two circles. Okay, it's like they took this cylinder and turned it on its side. All right, if they turned it on its side, the height is now like this, like it's laying down, like the way your height would be if you laid down on the floor. Okay, so the height here is 5. It's really important to make sure you know the difference of where these two go. I caught some people on Thursday that were trying to square this number. So it's important to know which one's your radius and which one's your height. When you multiply that all out, when you round to the nearest tenth, it is 141.3 inches cubed. Make sure it is cubed because we are talking about volume. On this one, they did not give us the radius. They gave us the diameter. Remember, diameter goes all the way across the circle, and radius goes halfway. So if we took our diameter and divided it by 2, that's where I got this number from. Okay? And then the height was given to us. It was 6.5. So when I multiply all of that together and you round to the nearest tenth, it is 103.4 meters cubed. All right? Those were the basic ones. Then they took it a step further on the next one. You had to find the volume first. Then from the volume, you had to figure out what the weight would be. So first, our volume, V equals pi r squared h. The radius was not given, but they gave that there was a diameter of 3 feet. For a diameter of 3 feet, 3 divided by 2, that's where I got my 1.5. So my radius was 1.5, square it, and then it says a height of 2 feet. So 2 was my height. And so you were doing pi times 1.5 squared times 2, and you probably have that as your answer. So 14 point, if you took 3 decimal places, it would be 137. Then you multiply it by 59 because it says per cubic feet. So this had a little over 14 cubic feet, and each one is worth 59 pounds of weight. So we have to multiply this amount by 59. Now, if you rounded this one and had 14.1, you got probably slightly a different answer here. Your answer was probably about 831.9. So if you had 831.9, you're not really wrong. You just rounded in between and then rounded at the end again. We don't like to round twice. So usually we just keep it straight in the calculator, then times by 59 to get our answer, then round at the end. Okay? The next one, we had 2 cylinders. So I did the outside cylinder first. So this was my outside cylinder, where this was my inside cylinder. Okay? They're both cylinders. So V equals pi r squared h. The outside one, all the way across, is my diameter, which is 12. So halfway, if I divide that by 2, that is where I got my 6 from here. Then the height is 26. On my other one, all the way across for my diameter is 4.2. To get my radius, I divide by 2, and that's 2.1. So that's where I got my radius. It's the same height on the inside as it is on the outside, so that's 26. From there, I multiplied them, and I took 3 decimal places. Okay, I did actually check out the work, and if you just went to the nearest tenth, it does come out to be the exact same thing, so you got lucky there. But if you take this minus this, because this one has a hole in the middle for a paper towel, you would subtract the whole section so that we have just the section filled with the paper. This would be your answer then. Okay, so this had a lot of parts of where you could accidentally make a mistake. Maybe you had the radius wrong, maybe you had the height wrong, maybe you accidentally multiplied wrong, maybe you accidentally added instead of subtracted. So make sure you're looking through all of the work if you made a mistake and see where your mistake was. Let's see. Next two were 11 and 12. Okay. On 11, V equals pi r squared h. This is another cylinder. Now, it is just like the one we did right here. The only difference is this gave us our radius, and this gave us our diameter. Diameter goes all the way across. Radius is just halfway. So to get our radius, we divide by 2, and that's giving me that 10.5. That's where I got my radius from. The height. They keep trying to trick you here. Like if you look at this one, we have our bases on the bottom, our circle's on the bottom, so height goes up and down. When the base, that circle, okay, on both sides, is not on the bottom, your height's not going to go up and down like you think it will. It goes in between the two circles. Okay, again, it's like you're taking it and you're laying it down, so now it's going the other direction. So my height was 8, and when I multiply and round to the nearest tenth, that is 2,770.9 yards cubed. For number 12, still a cylinder, so V equals pi r squared h. We have 2 as our radius. They gave it to us this time. They gave us halfway, so we don't want to cut that one in half because it already is half of all the way across. And then 13.3 was my height because it's the distance between my two bases, the distance between those two circles. When you multiply all that together, you get 167.1 centimeters cubed when you round to the nearest tenth. Okay. I'm going to skip 13 for now. If you got it done, great. Remember, I said in class on Thursday that I was not going to grade that one. So if you didn't get it done, you didn't have to do it. But if you already have it done, I will show you the answers at the end. So the next one was number 14. On number 14, when you look at this, you have your prism here, and then you have a half cylinder. So I'm even going to put the word half in here. A half cylinder on the top. So my formula for my prism is volume equals area of the base times the height. For the cylinder, volume equals pi r squared h. I start filling my numbers in. So for this prism, my base at the bottom here was 9 by 10. The height was 11. For this one, my pi and then my r here, they gave us halfway across the circle, because remember we only have half of the cylinder, so halfway across the circle is 5, so 5 squared. And this is the part that I think probably tricks some people. The height of the prism, of the cylinder, is actually going this direction. Okay, so the distance between those two half circles or semicircles is going to be the height. So that was 9 inches there. So double check that you have 9 in your cylinder formula as the height. So then I multiplied both of them, and I did round to the nearest tenth here only because I knew this one wasn't actually going to have any decimals. I knew it was going to be a whole number. So when I add them up, when I round at the end, it didn't really matter. If you took the 3 decimals here, fantastic. Okay, so I had 353.4 This one came out to be 990, and you are adding because there is no hole here in the middle that you are trying to take away from it. It's looking for the entire mailbox volume. So you add them up and you get 1,343.4 inches cubed. Okay? The next one that you had to do was 16. On 16, I really want to make sure that you paid attention to the word 2 round pans. Okay? So when you are figuring them out, this one is a rectangular prism, so volume equals area of the base times height. This one is a cylinder, volume equals pi r squared h. I fill my numbers in. I use the 13 by 9, the very bottom of the pan, as my base. So not 13 times 9. 2 was my height. In this one, it gave us the diameter, which is all the way across. So if I divide it by 2, my radius is 4. That's where I got that number from. My height of my pan is 2. And then because they wanted 2 round pans, I multiplied it by 2 at the end. Okay, so here was the volume. And then because I want 2 of these, there is my 2. Okay? So I have 234 as my answer here. I have 201.1 as my answer here. So it says, which will hold more cake batter? Well, obviously the larger number is going to be the one that will hold more. So it's going to be the rectangular cake pan because that's the bigger number. Okay. The last one you had to do was, I actually believe that was the last one. So if you had all of those done, right, then you actually get full credits. Okay, you get an 8 out of 8 since there were 8 problems that you completed. If you got 13 done, I will go over it now so you can check it. If you did not have 13 done, you can write it down if you want, or you can just listen to me go over it. It doesn't really matter which. This one will not be graded. It's not part of the grade. Okay, so it was a cylinder, so I wrote my volume formula out. I started filling things in. Since the diameter was 10, I divided it by 2, and that is my radius. My height was 8 inches, so I multiplied all that together, and that was my volume. So that was my inches cubed. So since it says each inch cubed is 0.13 or 1300ths of an ounce, we take the amount of cubic inches we had and multiply it by that weight, since each one of these is this weight. So when we multiply it by that and round to the nearest tenth, it was 81.7, and make sure you have ounces here. This is not cubic inches, it's not inches, it's not ounces cubed. Weight is not something that is cubed, it's not three-dimensional, okay? So just ounces on that one. The very last one that I asked you to do and then said it wasn't for a grade, so again on this one, this is not actually part of your grade at the end when you put your score out of 8. You can write it down if you'd like, you don't have to. But on this one, I wanted you to remember that this is a triangular prism. So if it's a triangular prism, that means our base is a triangle. If your base is a triangle, you include 1/2 in the base. Remember, for a triangle, anytime you're finding area, it's 1/2 times the 2 numbers that give you the right angle. Okay, so mine was 1/2 times 7 times 11. And the height is kind of like how we talked about with the cylinder. It's between the 2 circles. Well, here it's between the 2 triangles because it's the distance between the 2 bases, and my bases are the triangles. So 14 here. And when you multiply that together, that would be 539 meters, and it still is cubed because that was a volume problem. Anything that's volume will be cubed. Okay? So the directions now are to please put your name at the top. So you're going to say name, then you're going to put your score at the top. Hopefully you have an 8 out of 8. It is out of 8 problems total that you absolutely had to do. If you did the other 2, great, but those aren't graded. So since it's a completion grade, if you got all the problems done, you corrected everything, it's an 8 out of 8. Otherwise, take off any points for not completing a problem or not fixing them. And once you have your score at the top, I do want you to rip out the pages. So make sure you have all of them, including 27, or actually, if you did not do 27, that one's not needed, but since the other side are those problems, you do need to rip out both pages, okay? Both pages. There is a stapler in the back of the room right next to where you turn things in the tray. So turn that in after you staple it. So name at the top, staple it, and turn it into the tray. And then I want you to get started on today's lesson, which is a separate video. So make sure to do that one next.